Imagine starting a side hustle and completely replacing your 9-to-5 in 5 months. Rachel Goga Phillips did exactly that, from working at a big tech corporation to a goat yoga side hustle business that now makes $200,000 a year. She's retired from corporate America at 27. Let's find out how. If you're feeling more pent up than a goat behind a cage, you should subscribe to this YouTube channel. What do you exactly do at Goga?
Honestly, I'm a glorified poop scooper. I clean up goat poop. This is bougie goat yoga. We keep it clean here, so we've got to clean up that poop.
So in one sentence, it's basically yoga plus goats plus Instagram moments.
Correct.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
I love it. And the wild part is how much money you guys can actually make doing this.
Yeah.
What are you guys gonna make this year, you think?
I'd guess around 200,000.
That's amazing.
A year, yeah.
How many days of the week do you work and how many hours of the week do you work in here to hit 250K?
I don't like to tell people this, but usually most of the month, honestly, I work less than 1 hour a day, just answering emails and stuff, doing customer service things.
Why a goat yoga business?
So I went to meet my now mother-in-law for the first time. First started dating my husband 3 months into it, went to meet Roxy, the crazy goat lady. We had kind of joked about goat yoga that day. Then Hurricane Harvey happened. I had a lot of coworkers that were like very impacted by it, and it kind of broke my heart. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to raise money for Hurricane Harvey somehow. I told my brand new boyfriend, like, hey, let's call your mom and do a goat yoga fundraiser event. He's like, yeah, whatever. The next day I was like, no, I'm serious. I think we need to do this. We planned this event for 6 days later that we had like no location, no teachers, no idea how to do a fundraiser, anything like that. We started having thousands of RSVPs and my husband was like, turn it off, make it stop, we're gonna have too many people. And I was like, no, it's fine, not everyone will show up. I made an Eventbrite link where people could donate to save their spot, and that sold out in 37 minutes. We made the local news, we raised like $1,000 and we donated it to the Humane Society in Houston. Everyone was like, when's your next event? And we were like, oh, it's next weekend, definitely next weekend.
And that's where the business started.
Yeah, it was the epitome of like, we jumped off the cliff and figured it out on the way down. We had,
built the plan as you went.
No location. We did it on the rooftop of the parking garage where my husband was living at the time in his apartment complex.
Amazing. So basically, you have a full-time job at this time. Like,
yeah.
This is just,
and
hey.
2 side hustles going on.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay. And all you did was come up with this idea, find some goats, luckily from your mother-in-law,
Yes.
throw up an Eventbrite, steal a parking lot rooftop, and then where'd you post it? How did thousands of people even see the
Facebook
idea?
event. I made a Facebook event. I made a
That's
really,
it.
really terrible logo in paint.
So just naturally, because there were goats on it and it was weird, and Facebook has a self-search feature, people found it.
Yes.
So it's not like you're out there with a huge Instagram presence.
No, oh no,
Nothing.
no.
Wild.
Not
What
at
were
that
you
time.
doing for work at the time?
I was doing product marketing at HomeAway.
So
Yeah.
nothing to do with live events?
No, no.
Totally outside of your wheelhouse?
Yes.
At what point did you decide, whoa, this isn't a side hustle? Like, I think there's a business here.
I think 3 months into it, I was like, I'm making twice as much money in one day at Goga as I am in like 2 months at my regular job. So I think it's time to spend my time here. And it was a leap of faith for sure, because everyone, I mean, even we thought it was gonna be a trend that just lasted a year and it was that was it. But I was like, you know what, even if I just get some good business experience, see what happens and run it for as long as I can, at least I'll have some invaluable knowledge to go back to work with if I have to do that someday.
Totally.
But here we are 7 years later.
How long did it take from you starting the business to quitting your 9-to-5? What was that timeline?
So we started in September of 17 and I left in February of 18.
Whoa, so we're talking 5 months.
Yeah, I started getting a lot of like media attention and there was a local news station who wanted me to come do their morning segment with them. So I did before work one day and I showed up to work at like 10 a.m. And so it kind of came up in one of my performance reviews and I was just like, okay, time to go.
Did you always have this like little rebellious streak?
I recognized from a young age that I wanted out of the corporate world. I just wanted that freedom. My grandmother was dying and I watched her in the hospital for 2 weeks, and this was kind of the moment for me. I watched all my extended family and they'd like have to come in after work to spend their last moments with her and then get back to work on Monday and then fly back Monday to a different state to go back to work because they had no more time off or no more bereavement or whatever. And I sat there a lot by myself with her in that room and just watch everyone, like, just slaves to their jobs. And I was like, that's not for me. I don't want that.
Wow.
So that's kind of when I decided, and then I didn't think that it would ever be this much fun, right?
That's a beautiful story.
Thank you, yeah. I'm kind of a workaholic, so I always thought it was gonna be like hustle, 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 you know, work, 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 and then this happens, and it's like, oh, I get to do this instead. This is so much better.
You hit it. You're like, you try a bunch of things. Then one of them starts to get this wild momentum. Yeah. Then the moment that it does, you pour some gasoline on the fire to it. And if you find that idea that is a perfect mixture of the things you're good at, the thing that you're kind of oddly obsessed with, and what the market wants, you have a business that you don't have to work every hour in, because you get to work on the business and the business works for you. Sure. So I don't think anybody would say business is easy, but it's definitely not as hard as employers tell you.
Sure.
Number of classes that you have a month?
During our busy season, we'll have between 6 and 8.
What does it cost per class?
$35.
Number of members in each class?
Typically between 30 and 40.
Woo, that's amazing. Okay, I'm doing some girl math right now, and $35 a person with 30 people in a class is $1,050 for every single class she does. She does 2 of them a day, and she has anywhere from 30 to 40 people in it, which means she's making somewhere from $2,000 up to $4,000 a day for 45-minute classes, hanging out with little buddies and a bunch of yogis. Not bad. How many days are we working a month? Just on these classes, not your private events where I know you're doing some schlepping.
Yeah, 2.
Dear Lord, woman.
Yeah, we just do it 2 Saturdays a month.
Oh, right, because you stack all the classes.
Yeah.
So they're back to back.
Right.
What do you do with this place the rest of the time?
I rent it out to a dance studio over here.
Ah, another income stream that you don't have to fulfill? That's brilliant. How much do you make doing that?
Usually it's a few $1,000s a month, yeah.
That's
and
incredible.
they just rent it for a couple hours in the evenings for their dance classes.
What does this place cost you?
I'm actually on a % of sales deal with them.
Because retail's just struggling.
Sure.
So they're basically just saying, you make X, and if you make X, we'll take a percentage of it.
Yeah, and we had the cash to do the build out. Normally you get tenant improvement dollars. We didn't get those. We paid for the build out ourselves. And then we also just drive foot traffic, right, to somewhere that people from downtown might not come.
How did you come up with these ideas? Were you like, I just want to do it cheap, so I'm gonna just be common sense about it? Because you've never done anything like this before.
Yeah, I mean, again, we thought it was a trend that wasn't going to last very long, so we didn't want to get too deep into it and invest too much money and time thinking that it was only going to last us a year, right?
Let's talk about privates. Because I bet there's a lot of money to be made here. How much does it cost to do a private goat yoga class?
So for us to go off-site to someone's location, it's a minimum of $2,000.
Love it.
Okay. Often our big corporate events get up to like $6,000 to $8,000.
Ooh-wee. Nothing says corporate bonding like goat yoga.
That's right.
How many of those do we do a month?
During our busy season, I'd say 2 to 3 a month is a good number. During our slow season, it could be none. It could be one smaller one here and there. We also do offer privates at the studio. Those are a minimum of $800 for a smaller group.
But the nice part is you try to make sure that you don't rely on these to cover your monthly costs, because they can be variable, come and go.
Yeah.
We want to have something that's a little bit more consistent. Yeah. But then this is probably where you make a lot of your margin.
Sure. Yeah.
Amazing. Love the business. I go to yoga all the time, granted, not always with goats, but I love how you can practice mindfulness while also keeping my body moving. But it can be hard to shut off my brain, so I've partnered with BetterHelp, the sponsor of today's video. Therapy isn't just for working out major issues. It can help you add tools and tips to regulate your emotions and declutter your brain after any kind of day you have. If you go to BetterHelp's site, they'll ask you a couple questions. They'll match you up with one of their therapists who is best suited for your needs, big or small. Every single one of their therapists is licensed, has a master's or doctorate degree, and has spent over 3 years working with thousands of people like you. And if the first match doesn't work, that's okay, because there are 30,000 therapists in their network you can switch to at no additional cost. So you can find the right fit for you. It can get tough out there. So if you want a little support, go to betterhelp.com/Codie Sanchez, or use the word Codie and sign up for a special discount, because when I get a deal, you get a deal. Now let's get back to the video. Let's do rapid fire. What does it cost to build out a goat yoga place? What about that thing?
That was free. It was already here from a retail store.
Signage.
That was like $100 on Etsy.
What? Okay, $100, amazing. Then we've got some Live, Laugh, Love yoga version.
Yep,
here.
exactly.
What are these costing?
Oh, Amazon, I don't know, $30 maybe, yeah.
Benches build out here.
Husband built those because I asked him to.
Let's call it another couple $100.
Maybe, yeah.
Plus some favors later?
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, his mom's here.
Oh, yeah, we're sorry.
I'm just kidding. The big money thing was moving this wall back. It was right where you're standing here, and so we moved it back a bit to give us more space in here. That was, I want to say, $5,000.
What about pen and all that?
So we had bought all that when we first started. When we first did our first event, we spent a couple $1,000s on like yoga mats, fencing, a couple tables.
Out tutus and outfits?
Yeah, those.
Call it a couple $100
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And then the cleanup stuff. So probably on a monthly basis, you're going through a couple $100s in cleanup
Sure,
gear.
yeah.
Love
Now
it.
flooring was expensive, the bathrooms were expensive.
This has
Say
got to be like
10K,
what, 10K?
something, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So all in, you're probably looking at $10,000 to $30,000 for startup costs for a space.
For the studio,
and the build out, which is wild. But you did the smart thing and you were like, I'm not going to spend money until I'm making money.
Right.
So your very first event, what do you think it cost you to throw that hurricane event?
A few $100s maybe.
Because it's just yoga mats and like ask for
fencing,
forgiveness, not permission with the location.
Right.
And then a free Eventbrite.
Right.
Love the MVP.
Yeah.
And then you sort of slowly scaled up your costs.
Sure. Well, yeah, and we, like I said, we were on the rooftop, another rooftop for a year and a half. So we had no real overhead. And we did that for as long as we could. So initially our startup costs were like maybe $1,000 to $2,000.
Amazing.
And then once we saved up enough cash, we got up the studio and just paid cash for the reno.
What does it cost you to buy one goat that's a female?
So if you wanted to buy a goat from Roxy, girls are $450, boys are $350.
Nice, and these are because they're like kind of these special bougie.
They're small. They're gonna stay small.
You get one goat. How often does a goat breed?
Roxy waits every 2 or so years. Just to make sure that they really have time to recover. The problem is though, she's got to not keep them and actually be willing to sell them, because a lot of the time she has a girl and she's like, uh-oh, we might have to keep this one. So, and then they part of the Goga gang for.
That would be my problem.
Yeah.
I breed to have 5 to 6 mamas that deliver every month. You know, we usually don't have any horns because they're pets.
Yeah.
Just started out with one goat and here we are 100.
What happened? How'd you become a crazy goat lady?
Well, like I said, I started with one. Somebody gave me one. I kind of have rescue issues, so I rescue things. And then nobody told me that one goat, it's a herd animal, can't be by itself.
Okay.
So I went and got 2 more and then a couple more, and then I bred them and I had babies. So I put them on Craigslist for $75 and they sold in 15 minutes. And I was like, whoa. So I had a friend that had some little ones and I said, let me kind of play with this. And I put it on Craigslist for 200. They sold in 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I said, we need a Facebook page, we need a website. And that's how we got started.
That's
and then,
amazing.
you know, now they're $450 and $350. And I mean, I could go up and they would still sell. And I don't sell one single goat because of my experience. And what happened, I used to. And then in about 3 months, they would call me and go, hey, this isn't working out. I'm like, no, it didn't bond with your dog, shocker, you know.
Wow.
So I don't sell one goat, and they get mad at me, and I always tell them, you can find somebody that'll sell you one. It's just about the sale.
Yeah.
That's not my deal.
Wow. How much do you think you guys make from selling goats a year?
Probably close to $100,000 a year.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And so then you use that and you think about different ways to make money from goats.
Right.
And it's probably not that much. How much money do you think you spend on the goats?
You
Like,
know,
do you break
that's
even?
what I used to know. I used to keep up like per, now all of my herd was born at my place. I pay way more for my hay than most people. It's a specialty hay because I am a breeding operation. I don't try to hide that. You know, this is what I do.
Yeah.
I bleach their stalls every day. They live in a climate controlled barn.
Love it.
So there's money involved in this, and that's how I justify the price that I charge.
Yeah,
you know,
love
I would
that.
say, I don't know, I would say my profit margin is easily 60%.
Love
Easy.
that.
And more, as you know, one mama will have 7 or 8 litters before she's retired
Oh, beautiful.
at 2 to 4.
Amazing. And then you get to snuggle them in the meantime.
Yes.
If you were talking to somebody who hates their job right now,
Yeah.
who's in their 9 to 5 and wants to find their version of a side hustle, what
Sure.
would you tell them?
For me, it happened when I stopped trying to worry about the money, right? I was just trying to help people. And I think there's, You know, there's a quote about like the more successful you are is literally tied to the more people that you help, even if it's something silly. Focus on that, like focus on how you're going to bless as many people as possible. And I think that the money comes second.
Yeah, first you give, then you get. We
Sure.
call it the 10X rule.
Yeah.
So for every dollar that you get, you better be serving the community by 10X.
Right.
Otherwise, you don't have a sustainable business. And
Yeah.
in fact, you're taking, you're
Yeah.
not giving. I love
Yeah.
that. If you were going to talk to somebody about how to start, what would be the like 3 tips you gave them? It doesn't have to be goat yoga. It has to be starting whatever their next side hustle is.
Sure. Ask for help. That's hard for me, but I had a lot of help getting started, and I don't know that I would have been so successful so quickly had I not allowed these people to help me and reached out to people to help me. So yeah, definitely ask for help. And accept it too.
Yeah, that part's
The hard
hard
part.
too.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2.
Don't be afraid to jump and figure out the rest later. I'm kind of a perfectionist, and it's like perfect is the enemy of done, right?
Yeah.
You're never gonna get it done if you're so worried about just making it perfect ahead of time. So yeah, just jump and figure out the details on your way down to an extent, right?
What about the last piece?
Try to find something that you actually want to do, like that you actually want to be there, right? Like I don't have to be at these events every time, but I am because I love seeing how happy everybody is, and I just love connecting with people and seeing them experience this. So, you know, not all businesses and not all work is going to be this fun, you know, exciting thing every day, but just try to find something that, like, again, you're helping somebody, you're blessing them in some way, even if it's something that seems silly. Just want to be there.
I think there are certain type of people where they have this energy and you're like, I can tell this business is going to be successful because you're not just trying to take all you can from it.
Sure.
That doesn't last. Pros to this business are kind of obvious, but this is one of them. An ability to have an adorable little nugget run around the entire time you have a business. If that tail wag doesn't make you happy, I honestly don't know what would. She likes me. Here's the other pros I see with this business. One is you're not going to have a ton of competition. Yoga studios can open all over the place. Having an ability to have something unique and differentiated, like Little Goats, brilliant business model. It means inherent marketing built into your business. Second unfair advantage for this business is it has both reoccurring monthly membership if you want it, so come do yoga with goats all the time, or come one time, or do big group events that have a lot more income. 3, one of the best pros of this business is just she was smart on structuring deals. The lease is typically the most expensive part of a business behind labor. And this lease is just a percentage of sales. So she really protected herself from having a huge overhead cost that she couldn't continue. The next thing that I love about this business is it doesn't seem to take very much time in order to make more than 30 to 40% margins, which is what you want in a business. So if she's making anywhere from, let's call it 2,000 to 4,000 each weekend, only with those 2 days, you know, she's making somewhere, let's give her a little wiggle room, between $4,000 and $10,000 a month just on these classes. And then if you add another $6,000 to $8,000 to $10,000 a month with one-off private events, she's got a beautiful 6-figure income for a business that she loves with guys like this. Let's talk about the cons. Every business has them. The first con of this business, hard to scale. You know, you're gonna need thousands and thousands of goats if you wanted to do this across the country. I don't think this is a scalable business. That is okay, but it is important to know. Second in this type of business is you would have to do a lot of labor in order to get this business rocking in a bigger level. So you have to have your instructors at a low cost. You also have to have a couple of other people in the class training up simultaneously with you. Plus, you have to have somebody to take care of the goats full time. So there's some labor involved. Third part of this business that's a little bit tough is how do you make sure that like licensing is allowed for both agriculture usage and goats? I think a lot of places besides Texas would have different regulations for this. The next would be if you didn't have a breeding part of this business where you actually took the goats and you sold them, what are you gonna do with all those baby goats? Then you're like you're selling them for meat? I don't think that's gonna go over well. So they need to have that other component of the business to then go ahead and sell the baby goats. One of the other cons to the business is I don't think very many people are gonna have transactional membership to a place like this. Like they're not gonna come back again and again and again to goat yoga. So you have to constantly find new people to come in because while this is cool, I want a hot, hard yoga class more than I probably want to pet a goat 3 to 4 times a week. Last con, If you want this sort of setup with foot traffic, this type of building is actually expensive to lease. So you have to make sure that the lease for your rent is pretty low. Otherwise, I don't think this business can make enough money for you to have a really expensive lease. You'd really have to watch that cost. People aren't going to come to goat yoga at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. Saturdays are where you play. Uncomfortable truth, you can get rich doing just about fucking anything. If you found anything interesting in this video, tag me on Instagram with the best thing you learned from this so that I can create more just for you. Now, ready, set. How close? Not that close. It felt really close. Oh, motherfucker, how about that? Did I break something? Subscribe now.